opportunity to think seriously about the world post this pandemic. Uh, Pandemic is just one of many challenges we are going to face, and the one that Rising Voices was convened originally to address was the incredible climate change that we are experiencing globally, like this pandemic. It is time for us to have rising voices to come together. The work we have to do will be challenging, it will be difficult, but we won't do it alone. We will do it together. Um, and as we're surrounded by so much chaos, so much uncertainty, let's take a moment to think when we can safely step out of doors and recognize that most of the ugliness is human made, that we're surrounded by tremendous beauty even in the midst of this virus.
Hi, Rising Voices. This is Carletta Chief from the University of Arizona. Happy Earth Day from my family to yours. Today is my son Jojo's birthday, and as I reflect on Earth Day, I think about his generation and 7 generations into the future and what kind of Earth Day we'll have. And so we want to do our best to be stewards of the earth and make a better world for them. Have a great day. Hagone.
Okay, this is me, Chief Albert Nake. I can't see you. I'm in the sun. I see my reflection, but I hope y'all can see the flowers that I worked on, and hopefully y'all can see that. And here's my I can't see it because I'm in the sun. Sun is in my eye. All I see is the reflection, but I see the maybe y'all can see. I can't see, but I have a water deal here. There it is. I see it. So this is the flowers I've been working on, and also I since I've been in the house, I can see the building that I work out in to make me some big muscles, and I tried to do that, and it has some flowers that I've been working on. That's all what we've been working on. I have to do the work because my partner can't do it. So here I am. I'm a I'm a flower man. Thank you. I'll see y'all in the near future. Bye.
Hi everybody, this is Alessandra Geralaman with the Lowlander Center. Wishing we could all be together in person this year for Rising Voices, but very much looking forward to seeing folks virtually this week. Take care.
Hello, dear family of Rising Voices. My name is Angel Garcia. I'm here in the Shenandoah Valley in James Madison University. Of course, I'm working from home in this quarantine. This is the Massanutten Mountain that you're looking in the background. I just want to say hello to everyone. I'm looking forward to share with you in these upcoming days within the conversation on rising voices that I've been enjoying for the past couple of years. And take today, Earth Day, to do something that you like or be mindful and thankful for something that you like to do in our planet. For me, it's going to caves, going snorkeling and looking at marine turtles. For example, like carey, that's what we call it in the indigenous language in the Caribbean. And also, I like to look at rocks, especially sedimentary rocks. I hope to see you around, guys. Stay healthy.
Hello, everyone. This is Aransa Sue, sending you greetings from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm here on my porch, and it's been a glorious spring here. It's given me great uplift these past 5 weeks. But I wanted to send you my very best wishes. I so miss you all, and I wish we could be physically together right now at the Lummi Nation. I hope your family is staying well, healthy, your friends, your community, and until very soon.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Rabin. I'm in Norman, Oklahoma currently and enjoying Earth Day or E-Day here. We had some good thunderstorms overnight, early this morning. 2 inches of rain or so. And I'm out here where we've got our lovely garden that we've been working on. Got some peach trees that I'm standing in front of that were volunteers from our compost pile. And then over here in the back, rest of the garden, and we had just a couple days ago planted some elderberry bushes. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Rising Voices virtual on Friday, and it'd be great to see everybody. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe, enjoying the day.
Tatzlahain, Inamuniqua, Sepulchasweetus, Kasoyapotim, Sierra Green.
I'm Elias. This is my little brother, Taylor Mead Wilson.
And we're coming to you live from Nimipu Country in Idaho. I'm faculty at Northwest Indian College in the Native Environmental Science program. And today we wanted to share a message with you about resilience and adaptation. So we brought in our little teacher,
Kakit.
We brought in Kikit because it has given our ancestors sustenance since time immemorial. We have been digging this root for generations, and it is full of nutrition, continues to come back in these changing landscapes that it's endured for millennia. And so we wanted to share Kikit with you as we've been out on the hillsides digging the last couple weeks, and we just want to share our love and our light from Nimipu country and hope that you're all staying safe and staying sacred. Anything else you guys want to say?
Katiaya Hanila. Thank you, Creator.
Katsiaya.
Katiaya.
Yat ebene she Nikki Cooley in the shia can you on in the shlon look at the nabashichin is it lana eda shanale twohead lini eda shiche hot awaid in the sun in the shle. I'm of the Town House clan, born for the Reed People clan. Maternal grandparents are from the Water That Flows Together clan, and paternal are from the Many Goats clan. And I come from two small communities in Arizona, Shanto and Blue Gap. And I just want to say yate to all my Rising Voices family, and I hope you're doing well. During this time at home, we have been celebrating the earth every day by being outside, taking a walk with our dogs, going on long walks and discovering new places. But the other thing too is that my kids have been baking cookies in a solar oven that was lent to us by my colleague Mansell Nelson. So they've been baking cookies outside in this hot sun that we're getting here in Flagstaff, Arizona. And those are small victories, I guess, celebrations, because it's showing us and reminding us that more than ever we need to learn and keep learning how to live off the land, but also to take care of our mother. Mother Earth is life. Yeah, go net.
Aloha, y'all, from my living room in Western North Carolina. I'm happy to be here to help celebrate Earth Day, 50 years from the start. It's also 50 years since the creation of Noah, but that's another story. I am delighted to be able to share some thoughts with you about how I've come to appreciate the Earth even more than I did 50 years ago. I mostly have learned recently from things like my walks with Shep. They are wonderful, wonderful opportunities for me to be reminded that when I'm in nature, I need to go slowly. I need to sniff and smell. Shep's better at that than I am. To open my ears to hear and to listen. To open my eyes to see and to know. And most of all, to be in that moment, in the space of the earth, and learn my role on this planet and my role in the universe. It's been an exciting time for me to grow and learn in these last 50 years, and I hope it has been for all of you. I know we'll be celebrating another 50 years of Earth Day, and I know that soon we'll celebrate 50 years of Rising Voices. Thanks, everybody. Aloha.
Mabuhay. Ako ay si Elena Bautista Sparrow. Ang mga magulang ko ay si Elisa at Sergio Bautista. Greetings, I'm Elena Bautista Sparrow. My parents are the late Elisa and Sergio Bautista. I work at the University of Alaska Fairbanks that sits on a hill called Troth Yeda, the land that the Tanana Dene people have stewarded throughout the generations. I'm also blessed working with Athabascan elders like Sam Dementif and Clara Anderson, and my colleagues Melinda Chase and Katie Spellman, in engaging educators, community members, and youth in climate change work. I miss each one of you in our Rising Voices family. My heart warms thinking of you and our youth. I'm sending blessings and love from Fairbanks, Alaska.
Malo soifua. My name is Fialawia Esther Pulatime Salialae Titi Lamositele. And I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. And I'm Samoan, German, and Chinese. And I'm currently on the traditional lands of the Lummi and the Nooksack and many other Coast Salish people, currently known as Ferndale, Washington, USA. And I'm a first time attending the V8 Rising Voices, the V8 I needed. And something positive is I've been learning Samoan language, dances with my Pacifica online family, and calls with my Tina, with my mom. And, Earth Day is every day. And I just want to say, Fafitai, I'm excited for this and to be with you all and hoping that everyone is safe. Fafitai. Bye.
Hey everybody, Tim Schneider here in Broomfield, Colorado. Just getting out of my own head a little bit and out into this beautiful world. I've really been appreciating how we've been living so much more lightly on the planet lately. Less pollution, less noise, less traffic. And I'm hoping we can find ways to carry that into the future as we move out of this current crisis. And for my own part, I look to be dedicating myself more to commuting to work on my bike and keep supporting the local organic farms. So be well, everybody. Peace.
Hi everyone, I'm Riley. I use they, them, theirs pronouns.
And I'm Itzel. I use she, her, hers. We just wanted to say how much we miss each and every one of you, and we could be there with each other, but we're still very excited about this virtual Rising Voices, and we hope you're all taking care of yourselves. I know I'm trying to take care of myself by doing a prayer every day or every so often just to keep myself grounded, because I tend to get myself overwhelmed a lot. So we love you so much and we miss you. And Riley?
I think I speak for both of us when I say how much we love and care about Rising Voices. It is just such a special experience for us. Whenever we are at Rising Voices, it is always so reinvigorating and empowering for us to continue our fight for climate justice. In addition, the opportunities that we have to connect with the folks present is something that we treasure so much. Mm-hmm. We are so excited for the virtual kickoff. We'll see you there. We love you.
Yes, and we miss you. Can't wait to see you again.
Bye.
Hao midakiapi, James Rallingleaf, imachiapi na shichangu lakota oyate. Iyuhan chante wastenape juzapolo. Greetings from Chaisapa, the heart of everything there is in the Black Hills of South Dakota, USA. My message to you today is that through our prayers and ceremonies, we will continue to renew our minds, spirits, and hearts so that we can defend and protect the sacred, sustain our traditional knowledges and languages, and honor our wisdom keepers and encourage our youth. We must continue to work together effectively. So, take courage and keep going. In the spirit of Crazy Horse, Wopila Tanka, Ichichiapalo, Idankuya Oyase, all my relations.
Hello, all. We are enjoying, if one can say the word, being together during this horrible pandemic and staying at Chris's house in the country. And she is going to go outside and show you her wonderful yard and all the ways in which she has been developing its productivity and its return to nature.
Hi, everyone. I am Kukuya from Borique, aka Puerto Rico. I'm very happy to have been asked to greet everyone today. It's a special day today, the day of Earth Mother and Earth Father. And I just want to express to you our our gratitude for all of us being here at this particular time. Um, it's real important to work through the heart. It is in our tradition the high place where the Creator sits within ourselves. And when we're able to connect through the heart, we are able to feel the presence of what is sacred and also be able to give it forward. And in doing that, we're contributing to the well-being of the planet and of every being that is alive.
Panahipi, everyone. My name is Michelle Montgomery. I'm Halawasaponi in Eastern Band, Cherokee. I'm an associate professor at University of Washington, Tacoma, also the assistant director for the Office of Undergraduate Education. Climate justice means so much to me. And my part in being behind the scenes really is about uplifting the voices of students and our community members to share our stories versus someone sharing them for us and telling them for us. So for the past couple of years, I've been focusing on creating platforms, both virtually and in present, so that people could actually share their stories, because it's really important to connect community to place. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe and healthy, and do know that you're in my prayers. Take care, everyone.
Greetings, my name is Patu Pitt. I'm from the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. I have a baby named Will. He's also Nupiat. I am very happy it's springtime and that there's rain falling from the sky. Last year there wasn't. We have our little starts, got the nursery turned into a nursery. I have a small business called Native Cut, and I am happy for that. It always creates a certain level of resiliency for me. And then I actually sold a little bit of art and was able to donate that to some of the grassroots efforts happening. My tribe has a nonprofit that operates there called Warm Springs Community Action Team, where they're using food sovereignty as a strategy, and that is really awesome because it helps us maintain our relationships with our land, our heritage, but also helps people keep being taken care of in the spaces that they are.
Hi, my name is Paulette Blanchard. I'm an absentee Shawnee tribal citizen. I live in Oklahoma. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Kansas in the Department of Geography. And as far as activities or work, I've been working on my dissertation. So social distancing has been something I've been doing for months now. My work is centered around Indigenous people and climate justice and environmental justice. So I guess that's pretty much where my work has been most active.
Hi, Rising Voices community. My name is Sophie Von Hunius, and I am currently quarantined / living in Berkeley, California. I feel extremely grateful to be a part of this series and this community. Connection, coalition building, and collective care are just so especially important right now. Recently, I've seen a lot of dedicated work from folks organizing around prison abolition, decarceration, evacuating detention centers, around housing justice, labor issues, and a general strike, and innumerable mutual aid efforts and networks. It's an uphill battle.
Hello?
It always has been, and it will continue to be. But what keeps me going is the knowledge and recognition of people who care, who are fighting for life, who are asserting the most raw and pure and beautiful essence of why we're here and what we are here for. And I'm so happy that we're all here today. We're able to experience and continue building something wonderful together. And we'll see you soon.
Good afternoon. I'm Teresa Dardar from Pontchartrain, Louisiana. I'm with the Pontchartrain Indian tribe, and I've attended Rising Voices a few times, and in those few times I've met quite a few friends, and I have to say that the one I enjoyed the most is whenever we went to Hawaii. And the reason for that was we weren't just confined into one building, but we Hello? went out into the field where some of the
Anybody
RV
hear me?
members were able to
Yeah, we can
plant
hear
and
you. We're
participate.
listening to
We
the
went
live
to a
YouTube stream right
mountain
now.
and prayed and went to Kalani's house, had a meeting.
Stream.
O nauna mitahala me kalehua. E halelehua. Noia na kanoe. E kaunuia. E alo inei. E ali anei. E hoi o ka hiki mai. Hiki mai no kou. Hiki pū no me ke aloha. Aloha e. Aloha e. This is my good friend, Hanale Hank Ferguson.
Aloha mai.
And he is the spokesperson for the Kupuna Councils. Na Kupuna moku o ke ave.
Aloha mai. E hoi mai ka hiki mai luna mai. O nā mea huna no iau. E iau e. E hoi mai. E hoi mai. E hoi mai. E hoi mai ka hiki mai luna mai. O nā mea huna no iau. O lahui e.
With the deep knowledge for us.
E hoi mai. E hoi mai.
Come in.
E hoi mai.
All of our
ancestors
present in the room
o
for
nā
this
mea
conversation,
no iau.
to
O
hear the
nā
decisions
poe.
made from the wisdom of the past. Bring that here. Bring that here now. Bring that here. Mahalo ki akua. Mahalo i o oi. Mahalo. 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 Welcome to Rising Voices. Gratitude. Gratitude as always. The chair is set. The noho pani haka haka. From the beginning, we have always had the empty chair. We keep our ancestors in mind. For those of you who know, mahalo. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for Dick. Thank you for Jerry Philspipe. And mahalo for Bob Goff. Hallelujah. We thank those who've gone before us. We
Alana,
bless
you're
those
muted
who
at your
come
end.
after us. Rising Voices is a family. And Rising Voices is gathering together in a new way. New style. New form of facilitation. Chris? Welcome.
Can't hear.
It's time for VRV8, Rising Voices 8, proudly sponsored by NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and Lycan, Livelihoods Knowledge Exchange Network. Also, the Olohana Foundation, thanks to the courtesy of
the Pierre and Pam Omidyar Foundation, the Hawaii Community Foundation, and Honor the Earth. Technical production by Lomikai Media. This show is hosted by none other than Heather Lazarus and Julie Maldonado. Special facilitation by Kyle Powers-White. Help desk assistance by Mariah Ben-Joseph. Technical and sequence editor Chris Schaefer. Produced by Julie M. Stoll. Directed by M. Kalani Sousa. What time is it? It's time to log on. Adjust your dials. Remember, you're not alone, so sit up, tune in, turn on. It's time for VRV8, Rising Voices 8. Hey, so all of those who are joining us on Zoom, it's time to remember, you're not alone. So stop your chattering. Anyway, Rising Voices 8. Glad to be here, and we're hosted by none other than Julie Maldonado. And take it away, Heather Lazarus.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. Julie and I are really thrilled that so many folks are already engaging in various formats with us this morning. And thanks to everyone in Hawaii who's helping to make this happen. I wanted to say a quick hello to everyone and welcome to this kickoff event for our virtual Rising Voices 8 webinar series. And we're so grateful to all of you for sharing time with us this morning and joining us in this different way of coming together this spring. And as we all navigate the new ways of being together and doing things, thank you for bearing with us as we're sorting out how to see and hear each other at the same time. And we do have, this is just the beginning of our webinar series. So bear with us figuring this out. We'll all work together in the coming months to do this. There's so many of you already here. It's terrific to see, as I said. If you have just joined, please feel free to say hi in the comments field of whichever modality that you are using. And now I'm just so happy to introduce Tony Busalaki, the president of the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research here in Boulder, Colorado, which manages the National Center for Atmospheric Research, where I work. Tony has just offered such terrific support and belief in what we're doing with Rising Voices over the years. And I'm so glad he could join us for a few minutes here to say a couple of words of welcome. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Heather. And thanks for setting me up regarding, how I value all that you are doing. So again, my thanks to all of you for joining us today remotely, to Heather and Julie for their leadership. And again, my apologies for kind of popping in and out, but I really appreciate this opportunity to welcome you. And I really think, it's really heartfelt that it is, auspicious that you're meeting on the week of the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Okay. And that's on the positive side. And then on the not so positive side is a whole situation that's caused us to meet remotely, and that being COVID and its impact on disproportionately on people of color and indigenous peoples. And so really want you to know that we all recognize this. We are in, and it sounds trite, but we are all in this together. And I just appreciate the sense of community that's been engendered by Rising Voices. And I just want to add my voice in my own little way, that you have my full support, and I'm there for all of you. And I really look forward to continuing the progress of the group as a whole. And so beyond that, I didn't have any other comments other than to welcome. If anybody has any questions for me, I can try my best. But again, I just wanted to relay my support, but mainly my thanks for everything that the group is doing.
Thank you, Tony. And it's really special that we've been able to foster this community, bringing together people from the earth sciences and one of the main institutions in the earth sciences with all of our other partners. And with that, thank you, Tony. I think we will head over to Kalani for some process information of how we will interact over our time together. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Tony, for those words of encouragement here early in the morning. Hey, everybody, wake up. I know you're already up, but it's early morning for us here in Hawaii, and we got the coffee right next to us, and it's time for Rising Voices, and so glad to be here with Hank Fergustrom, my good friend for many years, and this is his first Rising Voices, and that's the whole thing. So Hank says to me this morning, so what do you guys do at Rising Voices? And I thought, this is a real eval. We bringing in the spokesperson from the Kupuna or Elder Council of this particular island, and he's going to listen for the next 7 months to our conversation in the working groups, everything it is we think we are doing. You know, and then hopefully somewhere around October or November, Hank will give us a nice evaluation at our, conclusionary meeting for our Rising Voices. What I find most exciting is here we are in a learning field together. Now, for those of you who got the emails, you saw those videos where we're describing facilitation methodology, in different ways of expressing yourself. Please try to practice over the next few weeks using these visual cues to alert people about your emotional intelligence in this two-dimensional proscenium. So that's very important. Those of you who haven't seen the videos, hey, you're supposed to watch the video in your time. So, open up your kid brother's laptop, put it next to you, watch the video, get caught up. Welcome to Rising Voices. It's a learning experience for us all. Here's a couple of things I want to talk about in the housekeeping. Rising Voices has always been a community, and using these JPEGs, I think we're going to try and inform us all about certain rules in the road. So one thing for sure to keep in mind is whenever we engage, conflict always occurs. And people get kind of wacky reactions around conflict, but conflict is really just the opportunity for positive change. Okay, let's take it again. Conflict is the opportunity for positive change. In fact, when you don't have conflict, all you got is status quo. Ain't that right, Hank?
Exactly.
Hey, me and Hank fight all the time. But that's how we get stuff done, is we push ahead, we figure it out. You use conflict, and you use this rule. It's called the Mick Jagger School of Mediation. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need.
Aye.
I don't know if it's the LSD or the early 80s and the bad disco that brings that Mick Jagger school of thought to bear, but in fact, turns out it's true. So if we give up our desires and talk about the intersection and our communication styles, where we come together, this digital intersection is happening on so many platforms. Right there we have conflict. Hey, federal government doesn't use Zoom. Hey, certain people don't use Facebook. Hey, other people only watch Twitch. We get it. We're going to try to accommodate everybody's needs. Is it a little utopic? Is it a little out of the box? Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see. We're going to give it a shot anyway. So two old geezers who know nothing about technology, working alongside with our tech team. And here's our tech director, Chris Schaefer. Hey, Chris and Julie over there trying to struggle along, putting together the technology and pumping it out the door. And our help desk, Miss Mariah Ben Joseph and Charles over there, giving her a helping hand. Oh, I'm sorry, went to camera 4, and really what we wanted to do is give you a little peek of Mariah on the Zoom. But those of you looking up the help desk, Mariah's there to help you out and inform you. So I think check your emails, read your emails. For God's sake, they're quarantined at home, Hank.
We all are.
We're all quarantined at home.
We're all here together.
Read your emails. So we want to thank Kyle White and Heather Lazarus and Julie Maldonado, who will take care of facilitation inside the Zoom. Think of Hank and myself and the team here as being the plenary. Think of the Zoom as being the presenters in the room and the panelists, as well as the breakout groups. Those of you who just sneaked into the back of the room, you know how it is. You went about 3 rows in, you sat down, you broke out your laptop, you started looking over your emails. You guys are watching on YouTube. You're watching on YouTube. You can comment on the YouTube line, or you can comment on the Facebook page, or you can comment, by Twitter, or you can send us an email. However you want to do it. We'll figure it out over the next 6 months. You with me, Hank?
I'm with you, brother.
There you go. So we're going to be working this out, getting a little bit of social-emotional intelligence up into this video conferencing. And welcome to VRV8. One last cultural piece around Ho'oponopono. Hey, it's up to everybody to be responsible. Responsible for the way you're feeling, responsible for communicating your ideas and thoughts. A word of caution on responsibility. You can only be responsible for what you accept. Everything else is called shame and guilt and oppression and transaction and payment due, or however you want to describe it. So you pick and choose how responsible you will feel for us all. Me, hey, I'm good at forgiving myself. So glad to see you guys. It's really good to be here with Uncle Hank. It's good to see Heather and Julie. It's great to be back on Rising Voices. We got a whole another 6 months going on. Love you, love you, love you. Oh, Julie Maldonado. Sorry about that.
I don't know if I got lucky or what following that, but I think we could probably just end there and it'd be pretty good, huh? But thank you to everyone logging in with us today. Hello to everyone, to our longtime Rising Voices members and those joining us for the first time today. As Kalani kindly introduced, I'm Julie Maldonado, the Associate Director of the Livelihoods Knowledge Exchange Network, LICAN, and I've had the distinct privilege of getting to co-direct the Rising Voices program along with Heather Lazarus and all of our amazing partners and collaborators over these many years. And for those who are new, Rising Voices, it started in 2013, really through the leadership and vision of our co-founder, Bob Goff. The program, it works to bring together Indigenous and Earth sciences, knowledges, and practices in collaboration and through relational-based approaches for understanding and adapting to extreme weather and climate change. And we might be physically distant at this time, we recognize that, but we are very, very much socially connected. And this event was really designed to do just that, to continue our conversations together as a collective Rising Voices community. And while we're not physically together maybe this month, maybe not next month, we're deeply grateful to the Lummi Nation and Council, to Northwest Indian College, to the entire Rising Voices 8 annual workshop committee who poured so much dedication and love and heart into organizing that gathering, and whom we are honored to continue working with to come together in person for Rising Voices 9 next year. And what has emerged now in this kind of new rhythm and transition we find ourselves in as a new path we are all walking and learning together as we go. As you'll experience today, and as we roll out the full virtual Rising Voices 8 for the 8th annual series over the coming months, this is a new kind of way of interacting and engaging together, and we appreciate and thank you for being part of this learning journey. And as Kalani mentioned, we will improve and build upon it over the coming months, and we invite you to join us kind of on this new adventure. And we'd like to acknowledge the foresight, vision, and labor of love, truly, of the Olahana Foundation and Loma Kaya Media Ohana that has made all of this possible. As you've seen from some of the welcome videos today, and you'll continue to see throughout the event, Rising Voices is not one person, it's not in one place. This is about being a community, building a community, lifting each other up as a community. And this event today is a time for us to come together to focus really on 2 key areas that are likely close to all of our hearts and minds. And one is of course the climate crisis, but to focus on sharing some of those positive, actions and celebrations you've experienced recently around climate actions, climate justice, resiliency, preparedness. It seems a little bonkers to say Earth Day as if, Earth gets a day, woohoo, awesome. So let's just do that. Let's talk about this in everyday context. And to share concerns, questions, and observations around the coronavirus and COVID-19 and consider potential collaborations to address the emerging questions. As you likely saw come through the Rising Voices listserv, for those who are on it, there's a small Rising Voices COVID-19 working group that has been initiated to foreground Indigenous perspectives in defining research questions for potential collaboration between Indigenous and Earth sciences and diverse ways of knowing to drive really urgent, culturally relevant, and appropriate responses to COVID-19. And this has started through the questionnaire we distributed to the listserv, and we thank those of you who have already filled it out. We'll send it around again after the event. And we hope our conversation today will add to and help shape this work that really aims to contribute to decolonizing both Earth sciences and disaster management, and mitigate the particular threats and impacts that Indigenous communities and populations face from COVID-19. And now findings from the questionnaire to let folks know, and from what emerges in our conversation today, we'll compile into a short report with the working group to be posted on the Rising Voices website, distributed through the listserv, and working with the working group to disseminate it to tribes across the United States. This is intended to catalyze interdisciplinary, intergenerational, and intercultural research collaborations on urgent, culturally appropriate responses to COVID-19. And we'd really like to thank and acknowledge all the work and efforts of the working group members who have come together in a really 11th hour time, to Paulette Blanchard for co-leading the working group, and Kalani Sausuk for co-leading, Teresa Dardar, John Doyle, Fred Iningwak, Leslie Okia, Dennis Longknife, Melanie Montano, Michelle Montgomery, Jasmine Niosh, Kukuya Nogueras Vidal, and James Rattling Leaf Sr. Through this work, we aim to carry on Rising Voices co-founder Bob Goff's legacy, who I'd like to think he'd remind us today, and I'm sure a lot of us can hear him somehow doing that thing where he gently whispered and also kind of shouted at us at the same time, and I think many of us have experienced that. He'd probably remind us today that climate change and all that it comes with, it might be inevitable, but adaptation is optional, and we hope he would agree with the options that we are now choosing to pursue. And with that, I'll turn it over to Paulette Blanchard, who's a UCAR fellow, doctoral student at the University of Kansas, a Rising Voices leader, one of the working group leads, and to discuss what has been emerging so far from the responses to the questionnaire, and to kind of kick off our discussion around concerns, questions, and observations around COVID-19. So Paulette, over to you.
Thank you, and it's wonderful to see everybody and all the comments on the YouTube page. Thanks, everybody. This is great. I'm feeling so excited and happy to be part of this again, and I'm glad that we did this. And thank you to everyone facilitating all of this. The questionnaire that went out, I think we should, I don't know if we're going to still leave it open so more people can respond to it, but some of the responses that came back, we synthesized into kind of the higher themes. And while this is not exhaustive of all the things that were in there, but this does capture the most concerns. And some of the emerging questions about the coronavirus, COVID-19 related to climate or other environmental factors was, what role does temperature, humidity play in increasing or decreasing the spread of coronavirus? What role does high levels of air pollution play in the spread of the coronavirus? As the climate and temperature changes, how does this affect exposure to new viruses? And how can traditional practices such as not eating predator animals or not disturbing soils or in certain places with names, remembering some of the indigenous place names that may include related information, prevent future or present virus transmissions to humans? Some of the challenges were the existing conditions of high rates of poverty, limited resources, reliable information access, housing security, racism and other biases towards tribal people, financial education, health, etc. governmental distrust from not only misinformation, but from disinformation, and some people not taking the virus seriously. Also lacking technology. Some tribal communities not only don't necessarily have computers, but don't have Wi-Fi. And so that these are some of the common problems. Challenges that hinder cultural practices of being together. Isolation is not a cultural norm for many Indigenous communities. The physical distancing hinders people's practices and ways of being together that enables healing, survival, sharing of resources, and overall well-being, physical, mentally, and culturally, particularly affecting elders and those who are isolated also. Another factor is multiple family and multiple generational homes make social distancing difficult, if not impossible, for some tribal people. Food security and safety. People are cut off from access to traditional foods and medicines, which is connected with traditional subsistence, hunting, gathering, and gardening practices, as well as access to safe food. There are food deserts, and access to food where no stores for many miles, increases this food insecurity. Do these factors push people to take unnecessary risks for survival, such as consuming shellfish when there's an increased risk of contracting paralytic shellfish poisoning from biotoxins at this time of the year? These kinds of things are important. And positive experiences that people responded in response to the COVID is turning to the resilience and wisdoms of our ancestors for strategies used during similar events, taking care of our relationships to place. Tribal leadership, health clinics, and related services leading the way and taking actions and communications when the federal, state, and local governments are not necessarily filling those needs. Also, people returning to a focus on traditional medicines and gardening and farming practices, local food growing. Network and mutual aid, such as providing meals to youth and elders and taking care of our elders, making sure they don't have to travel or go places. These are some of the high level thinking that came from some of these responses. I hope that it gets our thinking juices flowing, and I look forward to seeing what people's responses are. Thanks. Back to you, Kalani.
Hey, I love when you back to me, Kalani. And I never do mind that. And you notice the wardrobe change, getting all comfortable, tossing on the fresh shirt. And I quite agree. I was looking at the synthesis around the positive experiences. And I'm not meaning to shortchange and jump there around the rest of it, but I'm thinking, if we want to have some of the folks chime in around the challenges being experienced and we can get to the positive stuff, I'm way ready to jump there. I know we're all facing challenges, but sometimes it's good to share misery. So, Julie, Heather, you want to engage them in a conversation about those challenges or what we found in the survey?
Yeah, absolutely. I did notice that one comment came in already through the comments fields also about noting the lack of flowing water that helps for washing and cleaning. And so that's another thing to keep at the front of our list as well. We'd like to open this up and have a discussion with everybody about the questions. And Paulette, if you had more to add at your end, or Kalani, you had thoughts on how you wanted to.
I got lots of them, but you know me, I shouldn't be taking up all the airtime. That's what I said from the beginning. I got enough of an opportunity later to respond with the positive aspects, but I really want to encourage us all to either jump into the comment line, in which case trust that Kyle or Jean or Paulette will bring your voice directly into the Zoom room. And otherwise, those of you on Zoom who have something to contribute to this, please do, because, man, I could talk about what we're trying to do for the next 2 weeks. Hank, it seems the cat got their tongue. Everybody's sort of at a loss for what they're doing on VRV8. And bring you up to speed after that wardrobe change, which... oh, yeah, I'm liking that. Caretaker of the land and sea. So it's not just being philosophical, but marketing the ideas that stewardship matter. So the one thing that I was reading on the synthesis, right, is about food security and safety. And for me, Well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I've been at that for like, I don't know, 15 years, right? Every time I show up, it's like food forestry, grow food, you guys, get something in the ground, you know. My grandfather used to say the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, and the next best time is today, you know. So everybody, after we get through with our call, jump outside, figure out the south side of your house and how you're going to plant, you know, basil or tomatoes or something. I mean, get something in the ground. I'm sure you can see that it's not just crazy Kalani about the food anymore.
Tim Snyder brought up a point of an unspoken component that, you know, is the population increase and habitat encroachment, you know, the biodiversity loss, as well as, you know, changing landscapes at the rate that is happening. But population is another thing that is an increasing factor. I think the biggest thing that we should really start out talking about, and I think Kalani, because you do so much work in agroforestry and root to shoot farming and micro farming, that that's a discussion that I think needs to be had. Most of the responses all had a food component, either urban or rural, access, safety. And I think that's something that we should really kind of start out with.
Wow. Yeah, thanks, Paulette. You know, we say this, and I've said it. You know, the trouble with having gray beards? The trouble with having gray beards is you start sounding like your grandfather. You know, so that's a real problem, don't you find, Hank? I mean, I turned around and it was the 70s and you were still being chased by the feds. How did you turn into this old person? I mean, I don't know what's going on. So, my grandfather used to say, when life hands you lemons, pour the tequila, which is what we're trying to do here is, you know, you don't just settle for lemonade. You celebrate. You make a party out of the bad situation. And I think when we're in our home ground, in our hometown, and we're talking about adaptation strategies, and we're talking about resilience from that index, it always shakes down to my 3 rules or 3 standards. And they begin with, are the children fed? They're always formed in terms of questions. And that tells you something about our elders. They didn't give us blank statements. They gave us questions that needed to be answered. I think that falls in line with the concepts of responsibility, only what you accept. So the first question was always, are the children fed?
Most important.
Right, and I think we're seeing that now, right? The concern out of the bucket is always food. Where is the food? Now people go like, wow, that's so, you know, that's so first world. It's so, yeah, the food, it's wherever Luigi is preparing the pasta. You know, it's a no. From the old people's perspective, the food and the eating of the food is about the most sacred thing you can do. You're taking the universe external from yourself.
Exactly.
You're masticating. And, you know, I started masticating really well when I was about 11. You masticate and, you know, then you take in what becomes you and you compost the rest. So basically in this large composting experience that we're having, we're actually translating the universe external to us, into us, and into what we contribute back to the universe. So eating is no small thing. It is a high sacred art. And so sharing food during the protocol with the stranger has in that,
bread.
Hey, how many did Seder not too long ago? There you have it, right? It's like sharing the meal, no matter how meager, no matter how bitter the herbs, leaving the door open, waiting. You know what I mean? These are the things. Being family, understanding that occasionally the plague passes by. Deep indigenous cultures have an understanding of this. You know, on a personal note, my grandmother died in 1933 of the tuberculosis plague. She was preceded by my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather, who were both in Honolulu as healers, helping with the plague, who died of tuberculosis. My mother contracted TB in vitro, and I got it genetically in her womb, because that's the way it works. So science and indigenous experience led us to terms like ha'ole, which means no breath. No breath, is that right?
Yes.
Hey, and what do people contemporarily think ha'ole means today?
People get the word mixed up with haole and haole.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
Haole, doesn't that mean happy? Or ha'ole is haole?
What I find extremely interesting about the word is haole was a visitor, anybody that wasn't from here.
And why it was said was because the visitor might have disease.
Yes.
So you're not supposed to breathe with them. You should ha'ole. Do not do this. This is how Hawaiians greet. Good to see you, brother. So we breathe together. That's called a hongi or honi, when we share the breath of life.
Right.
Now, we were instructed as children, certain people, ha'ole. You don't breathe with them. So this idea of infectious diseases, of the way to be when that occurs, is embedded in our stories, in our languages, in our practices. I challenge all of us to search. There is a time of bounty and fruitfulness. There is a time of resting and reclusion. This is the nature of life. The moon is always half in shadow.
You know, this particular time with the lockdown that's going on, look what's happening to the earth. It's just revitalizing.
Revitalization. The beaches of Waikiki never look better. I could have run footage, but why do that? We'd rather read your comments as we're doing, put them on record, bring them in, see what's going on, and have this conversation with you all. So we got stuff to talk about in terms of planting and gardening, but I want to hear from you guys. You know what I mean? How's it impacting you? What positive things are you doing where you live? And what negative impacts or challenges might there be? We understand the moon always half in shadow.
Bonjour, everybody from the Anishinaabe territory. It's fantastic to have a chance to connect with everyone and to have this opportunity to share. And I'm really looking very, very carefully and with a lot of enthusiasm at all the fantastic comments that folks are writing in. And I wanted to give voice to some of the super important points that folks are bringing up. And so I'm looking at YouTube, I'm looking at Twitter with the hashtag, I'm looking at Facebook, but just here on YouTube, some of the points in response to what our colleagues have prompted us are really important to reference. For example, Dawn mentions that 5,500 out of 30,000 wildland firefighters in the nation are tribal, a challenge to stay safe and protect our forests and communities. Stephanie writes that tribal enterprises fund social programs. They're currently shut down, and this takes away base funding that is needed to provide support. Stephanie follows up saying community gardening has a number of challenges here, from getting the free starts that were formerly abundant to having volunteers willing to come out and help without group work days. Virginia puts a significant concern about the rise of eco-fascism during times of climate change and COVID-19, which can lead to a devaluation of certain lives. Folks have continued on the topic that Paulette shared with us regarding environmental devastation and changes in population. And I even see some folks on YouTube are actually having conversations with each other. And so this is fantastic to follow some of these threads and to see folks engaging verbally on camera, but then also actually having those conversations and dialogues right there in the text on YouTube. And so I hope that folks can check in with me again periodically, as I'd like to share some of these key points that folks are raising. And again, awesome to have a chance to connect with folks this way.
Yeah, man, that's awesome and beyond awesome. It's like awesome and then some, and then awesome sauce. You know, it's like the big thing, and we were hoping that, and that's the idea. We're going to expand over the weeks. Those of you who have not caught up in the email stream, please, I beg of you, I don't want to waste 20 minutes explaining the process. Julie and Heather have done an amazing job of synthesizing how we're moving and the track on it. And we're all giving input, and it's changing, just like the world, changing. But I don't think we're going back to what was. Do you?
No. We're actually moving forward to the start.
To the start? To the start. That's a pretty audacious statement there, Hank. We're moving forward to the start. I don't know about that. But as regards the COVID thing and the questions we're seeing, so spot on. But I want to remind us, along with that shadow in the moon, comes all that positivity from being home with family, from seeing kids, from not driving into traffic, from the lack of, sufficient air pollution over our metropolitan areas.
Boy, it's cleaning up fast.
Oh, man, what's up with that? Where's the ERC? Where's all that heavy over the northeastern seaboard? I don't know. Getting blown out to sea. And speaking of the seas are regenerating. I don't know if you've been watching, but here in Hawaii, we watched very closely.
The fish are coming back. The corals are coming alive.
Unbelievable how resilient the system can be. My grandfather, he used to say to me, hey, and this is way back in the 70s when we were wearing that little green E, and we were running around with the little green E flags on our T-shirts. He would say to me, boy, that's what he called me most of the time. Boy, if you want to fix the environment, just get rid of the people.
There you go.
But he would always follow up with, but then it wouldn't be for real, would it? Because for real, people are part of the experience. Someone was saying we're all in the same canoe. We're all in the same boat. We're all riding along in the same little rock circling the sun. We're all just trying to do our best. This moment in the world is, to me, a fantastic timeout. What I'm thrilled with is the idea that we can do all of this and stay in touch with everybody and continue the good work in community. So let's get back to hearing some of the stuff that's going on with everybody out. I think Jean's on deck next, right?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Jean Tanimoto here, calling in from Waimea on Hawaii Island. Glad to be with you all this morning. I just wanted to add a couple of things that we've been seeing here, especially with my friends and colleagues back on Oahu, which is our most populated island in Hawaii. And, looking at the way that people have been changing the way that they are eating these days is something that is very exciting for us to see. I think with the ability to get your food directly from farmers these days, getting CSA boxes and being excited about whatever is in the box is what I'm eating this week, and getting creative with recipes and trying to figure out, I think over the decades, we've seen that grocery stores cater to people's wants, and they have everything available that you might want to eat. And 40% of the food that we produce in this country is wasted because of that. And I think the fact that people are now looking at what is it that's available? What did the farmer harvest today? What is it that I'm going to feed my family is just based on that. It's one of the things that friends of mine who grow food and who work with restaurants and with grocery stores are thinking about, how do we continue that as we come out of this? How do we not go back to the having every fish, all the 20 fish you might want, and maybe you take home one and to eat, right? And so those are the kinds of things that we've been talking about these days on how to make this a practice that sticks for us.
That's exactly it, isn't it? Practice that sticks. I mean, when we talk about rising voices, and I remember years ago when we come together and we're talking about, you know, the adaptation strategies, what are those practices that stick? Right? Are we making the new ones now? Isn't that what we should be doing? Isn't that what was done in the moment? You know, word on tradition. My grandfather used to say to me, he'd say, you know, tradition should always have a voice, but it should never have a vote.
Yes, I agree with that too.
Right. It should always inform us. We should always look for the information in the traditional past, but we should never let that control us. The factors change. The conditions change. My grandfather, he took me one time after church down to the beach, you know, and we're sitting on the beach, and he's saying, there's God, boy. I was like, what? And he says, right there where the water is reaching the shore. And I'm watching the waves lap up on the shore. You know how it is, like Fantasy Island or something. And he says, right there where the water molecule and the grain of sand and the air molecule are meeting, right on that seam. He said, that's where God lives. He said, that's where God is. It's always the same on that seam, right between the water, the air, and the earth. He says, the sky father, the earth mother, the woman that is the sea. He says, in between this little triangle, it's always changing. It's always the same. It's always changing. It's always the same. He said, that's what makes it the same. It's always changing. It's always changing. He said it's monotonous the way it keeps on changing. You would think something different is it would remain the same. The fact is, no 2 seconds. Am I right, Hank?
You're absolutely right. And you know, it's really interesting because we're seeing this more and more right now along the shorelines, because it's that combination of that fresh water coming down, bringing the nutrients from the mountains down to the ocean to mix with the salt water that allows the lima to grow, which brings the fish back.
I'm missing Erin Grimshaw. If she's still here, our latest intern. The COVID-19 took her back to Iowa. You know, she got sent out here, remember, from North Dakota. She got sent out here because they said, this girl wants to study coral. So they called me up. They go, Kalani, we got an intern. She's from South Dakota. There's no oceans there. She wants to study coral. I said, right on.
Life starts with the coral polyp.
Yeah, the coral polyp. That's what we say in our tradition. And they bring her out here. We started at Mauna Kea, up on the top of the mountain, because that's where the rain comes. And you follow the water cycle down to the near shore environment.
Yes.
And we understand that there is no separation between the ocean, the terrestrial, and the marine. There is none. So our science needs to move away from reductionism and move into a more holistic perspective. And let's go to Kyle White. He's got some input.
Hey, I'm learning so much just following all the fantastic dialogue that is happening right now. Eileen reminds us that this is about embracing our responsibilities to others. Tiana tells us that food security and climate resiliency are key. Community gardening and Indigenous specific recruitment strategies for drawing in volunteers, especially during the current pandemic where gathering is discouraged. Rosina poses a key question. How long will we remember the lessons from COVID when it is over, right? How the earth seemed to breathe again, when cars and machines became silent, how the animals found freedoms to roam again, right? I mean, these are critical questions. And folks commenting that while there are issues of industrialization and population, that there's so much about what we're doing, what our responsibilities are, how we are actually living. And folks talking about some of the responsibilities that they're exercising right now. Tiana mentions again about their involvement in actually doing community gardening. So I hope that folks are really taking a chance to look at all of these responses that are happening right now and the key points, concepts, questions, and actions that people are bringing to our attention as we're having this conversation.
I'm totally on board with that. And that's the whole thing about this experience. We're not only finding the pathways, digitally, remotely to stay informed, whether it's on the phone but the idea is the connectivity. What is relational? And that's what we meant by no division between the marine and terrestrial. It's time for us
it's all the same.
Yeah, man, we ought to grow up. We ought to grow up and drop those phony labels. The same way we need to grow up and find new ways to stay in touch, to be empowered, to take our own capacity in this equation, to write our own numbers and bring our own needs to the table. I love what Jean was talking about. How do we sustain this idea that you go into a grocery store and there's 50 fishes you can pick from, and you're gonna, mosey on down and pick the one you feel like? You know what fish we used to eat, Hank? And I'm sure you had this. We ate the fish we caught.
Yes.
We went down after farming about 4:30 in the evening. We sat down on the shore, and whatever we caught, that's what we were eating that night. That, or you were just eating onions and poi.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we didn't have all those wonderful fishes that they serve in the restaurants. That wasn't that. We couldn't afford those kind of fish.
No. And you know what is amazing to me? And I want to go there, and I'm sorry to put her on the spot, but it's Julie Maldonado is in Santa Barbara. Man, I know Santa B. I've been up there on the east side, and I'm telling you, the California, just Southern California, the restaurant industry, the food, and that has to be impacted greatly by what's occurring right now. Julie, you want to go there and then go to Paulette?
Yeah, so that's interesting what you think about. I mean, there's been a lot of conversations here that I think are happening similarly around both in Indian country and around the so-called United States, of issues around, there's so much lineups at food banks right now, and so much food insecurity, and this idea of scarcity somehow. And yet this shows one of those deep, distinct problems of the system that we are now in, because what we saw down the road from us, we had our neighbor come by and was like, hey, if you can get down to the meat and seafood wholesaler, they have nowhere to put everything. They have no restaurants to bring it to. They don't have freezers to store all of this stuff. It's just going to go to waste. So basically, whoever has access to a car, which then also creates that dichotomy of who can actually then access this food at this warehouse down the road. Otherwise, they're dumping it all, right? They're dumping all the fresh shrimp, all the fresh tuna, right? The meat. This is a massive wholesaler for the county, right? I can't even imagine, just from this one little place, right, how much food was lost. And you think, and where I'm coming from, this is a, kind of a seemingly glossy, well-resourced place, although it's a pretty big dichotomy of an example of what exists in, I think, in most places of the divide. But I think that this really exemplifies that this is a deep commonality, as Paulette spoke to earlier, too, with thinking about how there's so many issues wrapped around food, where we're thinking about livelihoods, where we're thinking about those informal exchange practices, right? And what ties us together, both community-wise and, eating together around common foods that we share. And how do we, I have one of my closest friends here, of the way we see each other is because when she gets fresh shrimp from the boat, she comes by and brings it over. And now I don't see her now, and we haven't connected in that way. And so I think that these are a lot of commonalities that we share, and that we can also come together around, because this has been one of our points, and this also highlights of so much of the inequalities around access too, right? And when we think about access, not just to food, but to good food that nourishes our bodies, It nourishes our souls. It nourishes the practices that we've done traditionally, that we continue to do, that we try to pass on to our children. You know, my family is Jewish. I saw some of the comments come up, right, about celebrating Passover, right? That was a pretty bizarre experience, trying to set a Seder plate to celebrate surviving plagues in the midst of one. And so I think there's a lot that from the diversity of cultures we come from that we can share and experience together. And, you know, we can have fun with some of it. It was pretty ridiculous what I put on our family Seder plate, but that it's important that the kind of window that's opening here that is both powerful and concerning and raises so much hope is that the way that people keep talking about, do we go back to normal? When do we go back to normal? And normal for who? Normal for what? What does normal look like? Is normal working really for anyone except for a few? And so I think that we challenge ourselves, and this is something that coming back to Rosina's point and what Eileen echoed as well, is how do we get each other and the larger, broader community to kind of radically listen to each other and to act? And how do we really take kind of these nuggets that we're seeing of, it's been amazing to see the outgrowth of these mutual aid networks and these exchanges, right, that seem to be responding in real time. How do we take that and grow it and sustain it over the long term? And I think that's a distinct challenge for our Rising Voices community to work through. And I'm excited to be engaging in this and learning from all of you. And with that, I think Paulette, you had something to share.
Yeah, well, first I want to transition by, reflecting on the food points, because I know for me here, we've been doing a lot of like hunting morels already and looking out for other tuber plants. And, some people, if they're really, really struggling, we try to find other things. But the problems with that is right now, because we don't have a good burn system or program for how allotments that are broken up and checkerboarded are able to burn effectively. And so what happens is we have high tick rates. We have ticks that carry Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Lyme's disease, and this real bad one called Ehrlichia. And they're problematic for both humans and dogs and other animals, I'm sure. So every time you go out in the woods, you run the risk of getting another disease. And with earlier springs, and wetter springs like we're having right now, these parasites and other problems like this are increasing and putting, just getting morel mushrooms in the woods, putting us at risk. And so one of the things that I personally have we've implemented in our home is we've built a subterranean greenhouse that can hopefully grow food year round. And we're still trying to fine tune that. And I think that that's an option that we might consider going forward for tribal communities, is building a community subterranean greenhouse with year-round growing potentials. Just one option. Then into the other thing that somebody brought to my attention recently, a Louisiana tribal member was talking about how the government and leadership in state and federal entities are talking about how this virus is supposed to go away in the summer, which some of the Louisiana tribes are like, well, what are they basing this on? And they're like, oh, sunlight and heat, humidity. But that doesn't really match up to the reality that people in Louisiana and Florida and Southern Texas they're also impacted by this disease. And it's already warm and humid. And even in California, it's already warm and humid. And, and then, how does that compare with, dry cold? So the person that I heard this from was talking about the irresponsibility of assuming that heat and summer and humidity will somehow slow or kill this virus, when already the signs are showing that it doesn't. And that, like in Hawaii, there's humidity and heat there and light, lots of light, and they're still having the same issues. So how do we, not only recognize these things and distribute this information, because it combats the disinformation or misinformation being spread about how this virus lives and moves and so forth, but also to start communicating with our other extended relatives on the realities that they are already experiencing, because we know the tribes in the Southwest, some of the Navajo nations being just pounded by this illness, as well as a bunch of the Pueblos. So here we have dry, cool, or even, warm air. We don't understand enough to be saying, oh, open up, summer's going to be fine and everything's going to be back the way it was, because that's not the reality. So, that was just one thing I wanted to share.
So let me know. I got to say something then.
You're up, James. Go right ahead. Oh, you're muted though.
Yeah. Greetings, everybody. Good to see everybody again. Again, my name is James Rattleaf. I guess I'm pretty new to your community in a lot of ways, but happy to be connected with you today. And listening to the comments and the stories is very encouraging. And I come from the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm from the Rosebud Sioux tribe, and I just shared a really, I think, a very encouraging video message about some of the food sovereignty work that's happening on our reservation here, and how the gardening projects and you're really trying to bring different people together, in particularly the youth. I think they said like 240 internships or youth internships were established and participation by our youth. So that's somewhat encouraging. But at the same time, I think we also understand that, in South Dakota in particular, that we have a growing population, both from the 9 reservations, but also the urban area where I live. I live in Rapid City, and so we already have socioeconomic challenges even before COVID hit us, and so so that's reality. And so those of us who who work in the space between what I call a sort of a Western system and an indigenous system, we're trying to think deeply about how we apply, what we do, what we learn, and how we apply best science and also our traditional knowledge. Now, in particular, I think what makes this group unique is that we allow our spiritualities to come into this, and I'm grateful to our Hawaiian brothers for opening us up the way they did. And on our reservation, for the first time, I think, really in the history, even before, I'd say, early 1900s, all our spiritual leaders came together in our tribal council chambers, and they had a meeting, and they all got up and talked about their giftings and how they heal. And people were remarking for the first time that this has happened, and each one of those spiritual leaders talked about their own gifts and how they do things. And really what came out of that meeting was a recognition again that we need to work together and come together spiritually, and we need to help each other and to use our in particular Lakota spiritual practices to help the people. And so on April 2nd, again, they actually shared and did their things in the community. And that's significant, I think, in many ways. And one way for me personally is that, I've never seen that happen before. And what I think was interesting was they used technology, YouTube in particular, to broadcast that, so that those people who don't live on Rosebud proper could witness that and see that. And there was also an invitation to come and be a part of it. So I think, at least in my experience here today, that those things are happening. And I think it's encouragement to us that we know that, there are somebody working right now to think about us as we go forward. And the other thing I want to say too, that, because this is a science organization, I think, the challenge comes back on us again in particular like NCAR, UCAR, some of the other groups that we work with, or I work with, is the challenge to us is what are we going to do? And how we're really going to take this network of intellectual capital and capacity and apply it, to these real issues. And I think the challenge before us is how we're going to do this and how we're going to practice, I guess, what we think we need to do. And I think the indigenous people around the world have something to offer. And we've done that. We know that we've gave our land and many things that go along with that for this country of America. And so we've done that. And it may be called upon us to sort of lead the way. So again, this is the good meeting, a good meeting of the minds, good meetings of hearts and minds and spirits. So let's keep going. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jean. You're up.
Yeah, I've been thinking a little bit about something that Uncle Hank said in the beginning when he was talking about the earth is sort of gotten a break from us a little bit and is revitalizing a little bit. And we're starting to see it. And, coming from the NOAA side of the house, this is our perfect time to monitor that kind of information and to get out and to see, we rarely get the chance to be able to show a clear difference of reefs that are impacted by visitor use and then not having visitor use happening at all for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long this goes, and so we've got a lot of folks out there who are doing monitoring right now in order to document some of the differences and the impacts that, we sometimes argue in the government about where impacts are coming from and this is our chance. And so I think this is one of the opportunities that we're seeing coming out of being in a situation like this. And, it's not just folks who put on the lab coats or put on their dive gear and get in the water and look at those things. But, I have a good colleague at Conservation International who has been organizing fishermen and just local people trying to understand what are people going out and catching and how many people are there feeding in their families and in their communities and trying to understand, we think that our food comes from the grocery store. And in reality, in a lot of families and a lot of communities here, it comes from the land. And how do we take this time to really capture some of that data in order to make the case for maybe less visitor use or maybe less impacts in what we're seeing. And so I think the exciting thing for me as we're working through some of these really tough times is that people are seeing this as an opportunity to make the world that we want. And how do we use this time in order to set ourselves up to come out of this in a different way? So, thanks.
Hey, friends. So people are also working the Facebook page, and I'd encourage folks to check it out. I don't want to spoil anything, but what I will say to entice people to check it out, if you're curious about what the country looks like that Stephanie was referring to in some of her comments, if you'd like to see Aransasu's companion while listening to RV8, or if you'd like to see Alyssa's situation that they're in while they participate in this RV8 online, go to the Facebook page. Some excellent pictures, and I've been looking at so many wonderful points and comments of all different kinds. Dennis reminds us that we need to continue to be thinking about this issue of wildfire and tribes' capacity to staff actual fire crews. And that has a connection, obviously, to what's going on right now with employment issues tied to COVID-19. Sierra writes, with our boys at home, now is the time to teach stories, emphasize our cultural teachings, learn songs and drumming. They have been ambitious in making comments, telling the stories. Now moving toward video. Elena says, this time has been an opportunity for reflection, appreciation of our blessings, and gratitude to God for our families and friends, and for prayers. Michelle says, knowledge has an inherent amount of responsibility. Our lessons are to ask ourselves what knowledge we decided to uplift moving forward. This is a time for rebirth. Tim says, we can help, but fundamental change is needed. We have to get back to the local and the non-corporate. Bill invokes Robert Yazzie, who said, it's nice to talk about saving Mother Earth, but she'll be fine. She'll persist. The real question is, how are we going to save ourselves? Alessandra says that a collective sigh of relief as people get back into their cars to drive to the grocery store, gym, stores, etc. That's not the answer. And just looking over here at all the stuff that's coming in live, kind of hot off the press. Dan says, climate change, viruses, global institutional crises require a place and spaces where we can start to create a new diplomatic core to start this work. RV can be one of those places and spaces. Good to have a chance to check in again with everybody.
Nice, you guys. That's what we're talking about, getting brave, about taking action. I think Bob titled our original Facebook page, Rising Voices in Action. I think that that's what was his desire. We have a saying in Hawaii, in the doing is the knowing. Right? So
yes, it's not here or there. It's on the way.
Right. It's the journey. You got to get started. You got to take that first step. So thanks, Kyle, for encouraging us with everybody's input. And that's the whole point. I mean, we all know we could go back to what we were doing, but it wouldn't be sort of a restart of the calliope. Back up to, it would mean we transpersonally, as individuals, as the collective, would have to pull the blinders down over our eyes. Like Ulysses' crew on the ship, stuff our ears with the wax and just pull on the oar. Just pull on the oar. I don't think we're made of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I've known you guys for a few years. I think it's going to be a hard sell for us to close our eyes, ignore what we see as the problems in the system that hinder, not engender community capacity building or the capacity of our communities, our neighborhoods, our tribes, our country, our ability to survive. So, we were tasked a long time ago by our elders to improve the situation for those who come after us. And I'm so glad to be part of Rising Voices, because it's a genuine attempt at creating a better world. So thanks, you guys. And I keep reading. I wish somebody would share what Teresa posted. And I agree. Eileen was saying the same thing. So Julie, I don't know. You looks like you wrote that from Lycan. Go ahead and take a shot at it.
Well, to channel Teresa in all her glory. What Teresa Dardar from Pointe-Shen posted, I just wanted to call out to folks was, in their community in Pointe-Shen in southern Louisiana, that they're still planting gardens and they're able to supply fresh vegetables to their community. Their tribe has an agreement with the local government to plant a community garden in the area. And I think, and this really speaks to directly addressing some of those challenges that we discussed earlier on. And, I'd love to hear more from folks of what are some of those positive experiences that you're pushing forward, that you're pursuing, that maybe you have an idea and some, are looking for folks to partner with or collaborate with or to find support for, that it's kind of a seed that's been planted. And, how, Rising Voices is, how can, this community be here for you to help you kind of grow that? And so if folks want to keep sharing some of these ideas through the chat, through all the different platforms, definitely let us hear from you, because as Kalani started us with, there's a lot happening in the world, but there's a lot of that that's positive too. And how can we take this collective energy that is renewable and regenerative and continue to push forward together in a transformative kind of a way. And so definitely would love to keep, seeing, it's been fantastic seeing what these transformations are looking like. And, a couple of people shared, especially thinking to, some of the, we talked about food, thinking about some of the energy potential transformations. Folks talked about, coming back to Louisiana, right, of how this has become this kind of energy sacrifice zone, but it does not have to be. That is not inevitable. It can also be a place that leads the way into this clean, energy transition, and does so in a just manner. And we've seen from a lot of the tribes who are part of Rising Voices and longtime partners that they're doing just that, that they're pushing back against what has been kind of promoted as this inevitable idea that is not the case. And how do we leverage kind of this moment in time to support all of our relatives around the country, around the world, who are doing this good work. And I think, Kalani, you had something to share on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's face it, we've been all dancing around the food thing. You know that, when the going gets tough, the first question is, are the children fed? Are the children fed? We, like so many Native communities, have unique problems also, maybe because of jurisdiction, jurisdiction economically, legally, and sometimes just by distance. And sometimes it's not just distance, it's distance and jurisdiction, right?
We have a big problem. For instance, in Hawaii, we have the Jones Act.
The Jones Act? What the hell is that?
The Jones Act is what keeps us from being able to be on the same level with every other state. We have to import things twice over here because foreign ships have to dock only one time in the United States. So they're going to take all their stuff to the mainland and bypass Hawaii. We got to bring it back from the mainland to Hawaii. And this is almost insanity because 25 years ago, truck farming was Hawaii's #1 business. So from my standpoint for Hawaii, I think what would be really, really good is if we considered the thought that we put an import duty tax on imported foods that would stimulate the local farming practices.
Yeah. You see how that goes there? Everywhere, every community you live in has a challenge. But these challenges have to be met. And what we want to do, give everybody time to respond to Julie, Kyle, to Heather, to everyone else. Let us know in the comments or find a way of jumping in. Tell us what's going on. Post pictures on Facebook that we can share about what's positive in your community. What are you doing around food needs? The CSAs we heard about, the everyday stuff. In the meantime, we're going to show you what we've been up to as the Rising Voices Indigenous Phonology Network, setting up a learning campus at a home scale in an R1. So enjoy this little bit of information. We'll be right back to you and taking your comments boldly. Rising Voices! Community. Yeah. And you can't fake community. So thanks to Pierre and Pam Midyar, the Midyar Foundation and the Hawaii Community Foundation, and thanks to Winona LeDuc and the fine folks that Honor the Earth, we put together enough grant money to create this media station, a community media station with community volunteers where we do outreach, networking, and keep the community connected and cohesive. Hey, for me, this is where it starts, where it always started, where they started me. Whether it's Earth Day or justice or just participation, this is where it begins, right here in the compost pile. You gotta take care of your waste. If we really look at what's going on, it's about our solid waste management. I once said to the UN, marine debris, isn't that just a sexy way of saying our trash in the ocean? Part of responding, both to Earth Day and the COVID-19 reality is, shouldn't we always have been growing our food at home? And that's what we do here. We keep our starts, we keep our plants constantly going, we keep food on the trees so that we keep our medicines like the tulsi blooming so that we can use it. And we're constantly planting crops like these beans. And we use different techniques. This is where I live, see? This is my house right here. Kind of Hawaiian style with all the cars out front, the plants. This is my neighbor, Wayne Konashida.
Hello.
See, Wayne lives over here next door, you see? Wayne's house. Wow, remarkably different from my house. You notice the difference? My house, Wayne's house. See, my house, we own, so we can plant any plant we want to. But Wayne's house, he's renting, and his landlord don't like him plant any kind of plant.
Yes, they don't.
So, what can you do in that situation? You are not helpless. We can still do something.
Yes, we can.
Again, my house over here, and look this way, Wayne's house. See the difference? But Wayne and I working together, you see down there? We're taking advantage of the fence and we're planting on both sides. Wayne is planting beans,
tomatoes,
tomatoes. I have pipinola, right?
Pipinoli, squash.
Right, so we can work together.
Bananas.
So you see Wayne's yard, grass and a lawn. My yard, food forest and a forest, old Hawaiian style. But still we can work together. Yes. So how can we do this? We set Wayne up right here to catch water.
In our catchment system?
We're going to catch in our catchment system, and we're going to funnel water using those bamboos right there to build a trough to run water towards a garden system. Let's go see the garden system. Oh, see, so we're planting
kale.
Inside these pots, kale growing, and using the bamboo. We never have lumber, no could go to the market, so we use the bamboo. We cut down the bamboo, started planting the lettuces, the radicchio, the bok choy, the ong choy. So even though you're only renting, you can still do something.
This is what we can do.
Yeah, we can do, and we all do what we can do, and then we all share. The whole point is, hey, if I quarantined myself for 21 days and he was quarantined for 21 days, look like we're both not sick, we can start working together.
Yes.
So we find ourselves coming out here into the rural communities, and it's the rural communities that support the metropolitan areas during these disasters. So our campus is set up as a homestead, an R1, a residential 1 zoning in Hamakua, an Ag 20 zoned area. And here we have outdoor kitchens, outdoor facilities, and even this micro food forest directly adjacent our learning area for teaching, for our virtual interconnected community tree gardens, education curricula. 25% of it includes the annuals, your herbs, your onions, your vegetables, and then the rest is tree foods. In this moment.
Oh my.
The camera even goes over a waterfall with the guy over a waterfall down into the water. So the bottom line is we've designed and built a community resilience center here. Doesn't look like much, but it's a kitchen facility, a forest facility, a learning facility that has a virtual interconnected community learning component. And that would be our 4-camera studio that enables us to send our lessons directly out from the campus. So that's kind of a little bit of what we've been up to here, just to demonstrate that just because we're all quarantined in place, shelter in place, they say, that doesn't mean you can't do something.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You can still take action, right?
I'm cleaning my yard. I'm trying to get my yard so I can start planting again.
Hey, that's the smart idea, planting in food. And you know why we plant food? So that we can feed the children. That's the whole point of it anyway. And we want to take those comments, and I want to remind you, I'm reminded to remind you about the questionnaire and the links to the questionnaire on Hangouts, on Twitter, on Facebook, etc. If you're on those platforms, please continue to contribute your thoughts to the questionnaire. It's going to remain open for another week. We're going to be pulling in the information. One of the things we do want to inform you about is the way the process will move forward. So that information will be coming in a wee bit. But first, I'm kind of more excited to bring into the picture some of our family members who make this possible, like the film. Right there, come on in there, everybody. Grab that camera on Apu and Alex. This is Alex, Alika, and his son, Alika, or Apu, my little grandson.
Apu.
And these guys work directly with us in the farm and directly here in studio. Julie's zooming in on Apu. Now, you're not going to believe this, but Apu's already learning how to run the computer and do switching on the video. And he's got to be all of about 18 months old. Swing that over to him. He's even learned how to use the microphone, which I think is phenomenal, since he loves to grab the mic and talk into it, but he doesn't speak yet. So I'm always wondering, what is it he's saying? What is it he's saying? And you know, that's actually a model for how we should be. You know, elders in great times of need understand that they should be listening to the opihi, or the youngsters, who have most recently come from the spirit world with the information we need. Extend that thought outward. Why do we diminish the input of the 7-year-old, or the 14-year-old, or the 20-year-old?
Right. Their ideas are fresh.
That's right. It's their planet too, pal. And this is Miss Sarah, right back to showing our family that works here. Sarah is our educator for our Victory Gardens program, teaching mommy touring in a program with Elena Sparrow and Carletta Chief, and working with the fine folks out of Montgomery and Chris Caldwell. Then we're attempting a new project called Climate Mommy Touring, using mothers and babies directly in community to monitor climate change. And you can hear Apu, he's upset that he's not in the director's chair, and I'm not even kidding. You know, he wants to sit on Uncle Chris's lap and run the switchers when the show is going. So
Not kidding at all. Whenever I'm sitting right here, Apu wants to be right on my lap, and then he points at all the stuff that I should be doing.
Like, pay attention to that switch. No, go over there and do that. And that's just a way of demonstrating in real time that the information is relevant to and for the next generations. So going back to normal, as I believe Sister was eloquently trying to dance around, normal for who? 2 to 3% of the population, I think all of us need to take a serious time out here and decide how we're going to build our own community capacity. And what we're wanting to share with you through that film is a little bit of hope. We're continuing to build our community capacity way out in the rural community, Hamakua and the Big Island. If we can do it out here 2,400 miles from anybody, I know you can too. I know you can too. Paulette, why don't you tell them about how you come out here and visit me, because we want to offer to those communities. If you can't visit us in person because of the quarantine, you might be able to visit us virtually.
Oh gosh, getting to come out there is always a treasure, because no matter what time you come out there, there's always not only work to be done, but there's always food to be had. My partner, Mark, obsesses over the giant avocados that are out there, and he will do slave labor just to have a couple of avocado sandwiches as well as some fruit. And he just thrives on that. And we absolutely love getting to come out and, not only spend time at your home place with your farm, but also with Mariah and the Ben Joseph farm, and getting to explore some of the other places that they have these incredible, not only food forests, but full farms where you don't need meat, because there's so many other things that at all times to eat. Yeah, it's a blessing to get some fish. It's a blessing to maybe get rid of some of them feral hogs. But the reality is it's absolutely amazing to get to go out and just walk, and your food is everywhere around you. And we love coming out there. We're going to try to come out at least once a year. We've even talked about, moving there part-time, but a lot of the practices I learned, I'm trying to incorporate at home, like planting pecan and walnut trees, planting more fruit trees on my property that are place specific and that I can share, and harvesting the different indigenous plants in this region to make jellies or can or what have you. So I learn a lot every time I get to go to Love Farm or to the Ben Joseph farm, and I'm always grateful for what I learn and get to take home and try to incorporate in my community and share with my extended network. So yeah, Nyawe, thank you. Aloha, mahalo. Thank you so much, Kalani, for having that service of family, because it's not a service, it's family when you go to Kalani's house, because you're doing dishes, you're helping out in every way, and, loving on the kids and thrashing with the cats. And, so it's just beautiful. I love it.
Sister, we all miss you guys out here. I always say you can't fake community. And that's what I've loved about Rising Voices that first day with Heather them, Doc Tusi, me and Ramsey planting our feet going, no. This is not going to be a trite administrative checkbox. We're going to do this for real. Right? If we're going to be family, we're going to get to be family. We're going to walk through the world together, right?
Aye. That's why it was so important to talk about what that chant meant, because we're calling from the knowledge that our ancestors, all our ancestors have, they want to bring it to us. And all we need to do is receive it. And Hawaii's a great example, because we had a system that was actually functional everywhere around the islands. And it's important to understand. One of the things I wanted to say, it's really important to understand that everything needs to rest. Everything needs to rest. So we as a country, as a people, not only have to take care of our own yards and our own plants, but we need to understand when the country has to rest. Because what we have is we have a full-blown system that's constantly moving. And the problem is you need the rest. And we need to work with each other so we can allow certain districts or certain sections of the United States or whatever to rest, and other people can pick up, and you know what I mean?
Well, you would think that we would have learned this in the Dust Bowl. Is it just me, or do we have experiences in the nation during the Great Economic Depression? Listen, the rest is the most important signature in music.
Right.
The music is meaningless without the rest between the notes. So, knowing that this is normal and natural, enables us to respond to the moment as responders, not victims. Now I'm speaking from my NDPTC FEMA emergency management lens. Listen, folks, challenges come. Whether it's a wall of water, a funnel of air, a bad lightning storm, a flooded river, disease, a bad divorce, child abuse, no food. Things happen and humans respond. Now, how they respond, whether they respond as a victim or a responder, is a huge, huge component. And I think Bob Goff summed it up great when he said, hey, climate change is inevitable. Adaptation is optional. So you have the option to perish, or you can come join in the party with the rest of us, all up in this canoe circling the sun. We're going to try to figure out how to adapt to the new world that's just ahead, and we're welcoming all of you to a nice year-long conversation that we hope continues for the next, what was it Eileen said, 42 more years. We'll be on 50 years in no time. And to that regard, we had more opening videos, many more videos sent in, with quite a few technological problems. So I want to go to our technical director, Chris Schaefer, who's going to encourage everybody how to bring them in. And I'm glad to see the family members showing up because it's family time soon. Chris?
There you go.
So I want to apologize for the folks who went to the effort of sending in a video, and then I wasn't able to get it onto the roll. I thought giving myself a day would be enough time, and it almost was. The videos that I had trouble with were videos shot in 4K, probably on an iPhone. For some reason, they didn't render properly at all. There was like this video loop. The audio went fine, but the video didn't. The solution to that, aside from me spending a lot of time re-rendering it, is to bump the camera settings down to 1080 instead of 4K. And then we can get you in next time. I'm really sorry. I thought I had time to take care of that. That's why I gave myself the day. But we'll catch you next time. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and we have 6 months to get everybody's messages in. And I'm hoping that it becomes a ritual, because I like the idea of ritualizing, as Andy Warhol says, everybody's 15 minutes of fame. Let's get all the voices in here about what we're all doing together. What we're all doing together.
It's all about being together.
It's a little tricky sometimes.
That's what
Hank.
Ohana means.
I got you. Ohana means family. It also means the work. You know what is important. Also means Ohana, belonging to the root.
Yes.
So, you know, that's the thing about Hawaiians. They got like 4 meanings at the very least for every word. You got to figure out what season you're in, how the word applies, which indicates that the language was relational.
It was certainly relational.
Yeah, context mattered. And so it's not transactional. And I think that's what we're doing here. Can we jump on a picture? You think we could show like the big zoom where they get the gallery view? I don't know if we can broadcast that.
We can. Give me a sec.
We're wanting to do that so all of you YouTube watchers can see. Like the very first meeting till today, we encourage families and children. We believe human activity. Hey, Kaleo 10, dropping in, baby. We encourage people dropping in. We encourage families. And it reminds me of a story. The first National Climate Assessment, when we had the very first meeting and Mariah showed up with her baby on her back, I literally had 6 climate scientists ask me, what is that? I responded, it's a baby. You know, women have children. You guys are all smart. You're scientists. So, turns out that even the scientists are willing to learn something new. And I think all the rest of us should be learning that we have to work with science and the scientists in a moment like this, right?
Yes, we do.
And as a traditional elder, Hank, How is the community responding to this COVID emergency?
It's really interesting because we're starting to understand. Look, we need to take care of our own families. Each of us need to take care of our own families, but the collective, we need to start supporting our farmers, our fishermen, and we need to move away from just the taking from the item.
Consumption.
The consumption. I'm talking about tourism. Now,
oh, good. I thought you were talking about kids, because you know how kids are. They're always eating. They're eating. Yeah, when I think consumers, I'm thinking my grandson. He's sucking up everything on the floor. And we got those kids. Hey, Julie and Heather, can you get those kids to actually say hi? Heather's like, oh my God, she's got Julie in a headlock. Both moms just hit the mat. What's going on, Julie? She's back down on the mat. Oh my God. And here's Apu. He brought a flower.
Hey, he brought a flower for us.
Brought a flower.
Hi, Apu. Thank you.
Look at this.
Thank
Chris,
you.
Look at this, folks. Apu's giving us flowers.
Oh, nice.
Gonna put this. Apu's got. Oh, it's a flop for Auntie Julie. I get it. I get snubbed in the awards. I get how this goes. Oh my. There's Forrest. Julie. Forrest, you're up.
Say hey. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Forrest.
My class. She's got an art class going on.
Yay, yay. Oh, look, we got Mark. Mark down there with Paulette.
Hey.
Brother, good to see you.
Very nice to see you, yes.
There's Mark. Mark, you're up. Don't get out of the screen now. I was like, I'm out. Everybody else is looking.
I had to mute him. I don't trust him.
Yeah. I'm so glad you built that greenhouse. Aren't you glad you built that greenhouse?
Definitely. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me? I don't know if she's put me on live or not.
Yeah, you're up. You're up, brother.
Yeah, the greenhouse is going. Got crops in the field and just, waiting for that to grow.
Yeah, nice, man. And we're really encouraging everybody to get planting. Julie Maldonado, you got your baby. You finally wrestled her into the picture.
Hi, someone want to say hi?
Oh, no.
My God, I'm telling you, 50 state wrestling. Something is going on at the Maldonado household. Oh my God.
It's always quiet around here.
It's perfect. Kyle White, tell us what everybody's thinking. Nice, very nice. Surrendering to the families. Yeah. Way down there. I see Bill Thomas turning out there and Kaleo 10. Kaleo, I'm going to go to you just because of that snappy little picture.
Yeah, one of my drone shots. I got a bunch of drone shots, and this is one of them that I took. It's the city at night, well, going towards night, making my observations. Observations. This questionnaire, if you guys haven't done it, it's really awesome. I'm filling out this questionnaire right now. It's in the chat. So.
Nice. And I see you've been seeing Honolulu, which is one of the top 10 metropolitan trade cities in the country. On par with other great trade city centers. You've seen it come to a standstill, pretty much. Any information on that? I mean, that's a daily thing. We're on the neighbor island, so we don't have to put up with the big mess. But Honolulu's got about 900,000 residents, 1.2 million with the military, and I don't know how high it is when the tourists are on island, but it's
interesting. They're trying to do. Some people are trying to do that whole reopen America thing out here. They only had about 15 people or so show up for their thing. Majority of them from Hawaii.
Yeah, 15. He said.
Was that 15? 1-5?
Yeah, 1-5. They had 1-5 people running around the Capitol talking about reopen Hawaii. It was silly. I'm just sorry to say it like that, but it was silly. And most of the people in Hawaii realized that we're going to be impacted way more than a lot, being that the tourism is like the thing that's got us on hold. We're not going to be able to recover from that anytime soon. And the worst is we got to still import all of our food and, well, most of our food. I'm growing stuff in the backyard. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm I'm at my friend's house in Manoa, and we're starting a big food forest here. So hopefully everyone can grow something in pots. You know, I started with some bok choy in some pots and some green onions, and yeah, you know, that's what we can do in an apartment. That's what we're doing.
Man, I'm glad that somebody's taking it seriously on Oahu. I know there are a lot of communities on the east side that are planting food down too. I want to share with our fellow Rising Voices compatriots and those that came out to Rising Voices for. You got a first-hand glimpse of this, the unsupportable, inflated lifestyle in Hawaii. And the worst thing about the scenario is when the fences fall, we're 2,000 plus miles from anyone with no trucks driving in. There is no way to get emergency relief here. So if we don't find methods to take care of ourselves in place, we will simply not have anything. And we've had this experience before in our lives, right?
Yes, and the thing is, Hawaii grows 3-4 crops a year. So there's no reason why we can't feed ourselves, except that we have this corporate beast having to do with the Jones Act and the Matson and all these guys.
Because of the Jones Act, Hawaii imports 85 to 90% of its food. I want you to get that. Now, a place in the world where we can grow 3 growing seasons, maybe one of the only places in the world, we could be feeding everyone else in the world with the food we can create here. We've taken that capacity, eliminated it, raised calves instead to send to California, Oregon, and Washington for your beef industry, while we grow no food but buy heavily taxed foods off the boats run by the descendants of the missionaries, who then feed the stores run by the descendants of the whalers, you know, and that economy continues here in adult Disneyland, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, it's almost crazy because you take, for instance, the area of Waimea and Hamakua alone. We've got 26 feet of topsoil. 26 feet of topsoil.
We can grow you anything.
What we don't have there is a system of water, but that's not hard to figure out how to do.
No, we have the water in place, but the water's been captured and run over to the hotels and the golf courses on the west side.
Right.
So we are very closely monitoring. What does it mean, return to normal? Hawaii has 1.2 million residents with the military, and we have 10 million tourists a year. How is that rational, right? How would that be logical? Where do those people urinate? You know, I think we're asking some real resource questions here. And
yes, how many times do you flush your toilet? How much water is
we're
that?
planning on investigating these discussions with the Phonology Network on the next meeting in May, and we're going to give every working group a month to have their open discussions with the entirety of Rising Voices. I want to point out that prior to this COVID-19 experience, we all had to decide which track we were going to be in Rising Voices. And I remember years of all of us complaining, well, wait a minute, I'm responsible for phonology, but I want to hear about water. I want to hear about data. You know, I need data to do my phonology. It's like there was none of this kind of cross hybridization. This year, for the first time, all of us can attend every session. I'm actually excited about the whole thing. It
I'm
means
very excited.
we can get caught up on what everybody's doing. That's amazing. Thank you, COVID-19.
Yes, indeed.
I want to have gratitude in my heart for everything, right? It's like, I don't want some form of life, not just the two-legged, right? Some tiny little corona, surrounded little virus is trying to make its way in the world. I'm not going to begrudge it any more than I begrudge the centipede. Oh, wait a minute. I do begrudge the centipedes. That's my bad. Okay, okay, so I'm just saying, this moment gives us all time to reflect on our relationships, on our capacity, on how we use the knowledge. Do we value knowledge systems of the young as much as we value knowledge systems of the old? Do we value knowledge systems of the disenfranchised as much as we value the knowledge systems of the elite? Who are we in this moment on the planet? And I am so, so proud to be part of this group, Rising Voices. Hank, I hope you're enjoying it so far.
I'm enjoying this immensely. In fact, it's got my mind just working. I got all kinds of things I want to add into this.
And I didn't pay him to say that. I just dragged Hank out of Volcano, and it's like, you know, I think Kyle knows me. I like to put myself to a litmus test, right? If Hank ain't buying what we're talking about, then we're just going wah, 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 right? So I want to make sure that we have the spokesperson for the Kupuna Council present. Are we representing indigenous ideas, indigenous methodology, as Daniel would say, indigeneity, indigenuity, indigenosity in the right way, right? Are we in fact creating new relational ways of being?
And this is what, you know, and that's why the Eho Mai chant was so important, because it calls from a very distant ancestry where we were all family together.
Right.
Yes? And we all have information from all over that we need. Everybody needs this information.
Right. And we're itching to share it. And, you know, I'm going to be really nasty and take the opportunity to be from Hawaii and give a little bit of a platform to both Ramsey and Malu.
Yes.
Let's go to Malu first. Malu, good to see you, brother.
Aloha, everyone. Just wanted to say hi to everyone, and thank you for having me here. This is Malu Castro. I'm coming to you from Michigan, but my mother's from Hawaii, and my dad's Puerto Rican, and I bring with me their families and their histories. So I'm here speaking to you because I have been working with Rising Voices for the past year on the evaluation of their programming, primarily their workshops. And with the transitions that we've made to a virtual platform for Rising Voices this year, we thought, why not continue that process of kind of being reflective and attentive to the needs of the people who participate across all aspects, right? The facilitators, the program coordinators, and as well as the actual participants. So with that in mind, obviously things are slightly different than what we would do normally in a workshop setting. Instead, we're kind of trying to be more formative in our evaluation process and kind of quick responding as we're kind of developing these programs very quickly. So what that means is that we have provided a small, very quick survey that you can fill out at the end of this webinar. And in that survey, you'll be able to talk about kind of just your general experiences with the actual substantive components of this program, but then also kind of the technical components and how this has affected your work and your being. And our hope is that we can turn that around really quickly and help and use that to inform our further work. And we're going to be continuing to do this kind of evaluation throughout the rest of the summer and throughout the rest of this virtual programming, this kind of fast response evaluation. So it'll be out there for you to use. And if you have any questions, I believe my email is in there. It's castrokr@msu.edu. Mahalo, everyone.
There you go. It's right there. Hey, so I don't know why Chris came to me, so I'm going to repeat what I said. Ramsey next.
Yay. Aloha, Ramsey.
How's it, brothers? Hello, Hank. Oh, too many thumbs here hitting all the buttons.
Yeah, that's a game.
Hello, hey, good to see everybody.
Good. I'm seeing you in Honolulu. Good to see you, Ramsey.
Yes. Yeah, Micah, I've been on since early. I was listening. I had to turn off the camera a little bit there, but as usual, the information in the Mana'o is so ono today. Perfect time, you know? And the main thing is that, if anything, this gathering helps us to always remember the ono. Yeah. We cannot lose the ono. We cannot lose the flavor, the taste for what is. Yeah, our kupuna, what is our natural state. And I thank everyone for their comments and their constant reminders that this concept of normal defined by someone else, who is defining what normal is? I think this is going to be a powerful conversation. I'm looking forward to the next, what is it, Kalani? 7 months?
We got 7 months of this going on. In 2 weeks, we'll be having an informative first round of the Phonology Network Working Group. Every first week of the month, we're going to be bringing together the core leadership of the working group and presenters that have information to advance the work project. We will broadcast that webinar plus record it. We will then disseminate that recording in the second week of the month so that all of our Rising Voices family can absorb the material. In the third week of the month, we will have a large session, much like this one, where we get to push the work forward of that working group. Those in the working group proper should expect to be in a Zoom meeting or invited closer. We're still working out those wrinkles. The rest of us, as I like to say, that don't need to be at the center of the conversation, we can tune in with YouTube and comment back, knowing, and I'm so glad it is, that Kyle White and Paulette and Malu will give an extra bit of attention to that lens to bring in the critical race dynamic. I believe this is one of the essential elements we've always had in Rising Voices that is not present in most efforts we see. No fault of academia or governance. It just seems to be the way the beast has rolled out. So that's what we're intending. Ramsey, would that work for you?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it tends to be talking heads, but ironically, we got talking heads in boxes now.
Talking heads in a proscenio. I want to encourage everyone to go back to those training videos. We're going to keep posting them and putting them out. We have the opportunity to create new facilitation methodology using different tool sets in our toolbox to create emotional intelligence, to create intuition and attunement beyond visual acuity as we move through these processes. So want to thank Heather, Julie, fine folks at UCAR, NCAR, and Lichen Livelihoods for really, you know, taking a bold step forward and going. I also want to thank my crew here at Lomikai Media and Olohana, because I beat them with sticks and wake them up at 5 o'clock in the morning and make them do things all for free, you know, volunteer work. And there's Chris crying and carrying on. And I want to thank Hank Ferguson, who's going to be my litmus test through this whole thing. Are we full of bupkis, or are we moving forward in a responsible way to our communities, to our elders, to each other, and most importantly, to ourselves?
We've got to share this information with our children too, our younger people, so they get encouraged and understand, look, this is your world, man. We're on the way out. This is your world. Help us set it up for you.
Hey, I told Hank, I'm looking over at the pictures of Dick and Bob and Jerry Philspipe, and, you know, I noticed that I'm in the background of Bob's picture, and I'm like, wait a minute, am I half on the dead guy wall already? Is that a good thing? I don't know what these great bearded guys do. So me and Daniel, we're thinking about cutting out and playing hooky over the next 5 years. So love you, Ramsey. Give us some good words.
Yes.
Let me just share this. The reason I chose that background, for those that can see it and those that can't, let me describe it. It's actually one of our sunrises at one of our equinoxes here. And I thought that this being the 8th rising voice, that this would be a good way of representing that it is going to be a new day. It is a new day, right? And it starts with a sunrise. Every morning we're reminded, We're not promised another day, but every day gives us promise. And how we come to this day, our attitudes, all right, our connections to one another, our kupuna, and to this place, the places that are our places, is critical. And I think this gathering, whether it's in virtual space or face to face, it is about connecting. I think it's interesting how COVID has actually emphasized the fact that distance does make the heart grow fonder. Wish to be in the room with everyone, but I'm glad we can do this at this time. And then the thought, just one closing thought, because of so much has been said already, it's stimulated, is just it reminds us how connected we are to Mother Earth, Papuhonua. Like a child in the womb that is consuming what its mother's consuming. I find it interesting that COVID is attacking the very things that we as a community have been attacking on planet Earth. The forests and the reefs, the lungs of our planet. And this dis-ease and disorder of COVID is affecting our lungs, our opu, and it's creating a temperature like climate change. And so if there's ever a time that people should see this connection between who we are and what we are in relationship to Mother, it's now. And I think this gathering, this opportunity for us to all go back to our kupuna wisdom, this knowledge, this ike, and bringing that forward, because I don't think we can go back. It's already said, how do we go back? We can't go back. The object is how we go forward. And so again, mahalo to the organizers and to our good friend Bob, for the foresight to know that this was coming. Mahalo, guys. We'll talk to you soon over the next 7 months. Looking forward to it. Away ho.
Ramsey, mahalo, oi, thank you. Julie? Show us where we're going, Julie Maldonado. I know people want to know what's next.
I think Ramsey pretty much took us there, and I deeply appreciate that. I don't know what can be said after that. Just really deep appreciation to everyone for sharing your time with us together, for continuing to connect together, to grow the Rising Voices community, to support each other. This event, it's really been the launch of something new for us, and we're going to continue to do this, as Kalani mentioned. Each month from May through October, we're going to be working through the different working group themes, starting with phonology in May and next month. And we'll be pre-recording a kind of webinar type presentation for everyone, and this will be shared through the Rising Voices listserv. And then the second week of each month, for folks to view that. And then the third week of the month, there'll be an opportunity for us to gather together and for a virtual discussion. And the great part, as Kalani mentioned, is we no longer, as Paulette and I often joke, it's like we don't have to choose between food and water. We can join in all the conversations. And so we very much welcome you to participate in any and all that you're available for. This series, we will I don't want to say conclude, but in November, we will have kind of a wrapping up of this particular series, a virtual celebratory event together. And I hope that as we work through this, you continue to share with us your reflections on how the Rising Voices community can help support each other and build each other up, and ways that we can continue to grow together. And as Kalani always reminds us, this is very much a learning community, and we're all on a learning curve together. I know I'm on a very steep learning curve most of the time, and appreciate for those who have lifted me up and taken me with you, and for having this ohana in our lives. I'm deeply grateful. Thank you all.
I want to give you an opportunity to say something to everybody before we wrap it up.
Hey, everybody, just again to echo that gratitude. I think that, we're all reflecting on what's meaningful in our lives right now. And I don't think that there has been an expression of what is the most meaningful that resonates as much as this conversation has right now. So thank y'all to everyone who's been able to be part of this conversation, who's been coming in and out as your lives and technology allows. And again, just echo that gratitude that Julie shared. Rising Voices is not one person, it's all of us together and everything that we do together. And so thank you all for being part of this.
It's my habit. I'm coming to Kyle White to make sure we don't miss any voices at the edge of the room before we're taking off. Kyle, tell me something sweet.
Well, I was just struck by an awesome message I saw from Nikki that says we got to be kind to one another. We have to be willing to help one another and stop all that competitive spirit.
Yeah.
And I think the interactions that we've had so far just show what we can accomplish when we act collectively and we think together.
Oh, man, that's awesome and sweet. And watch me throw a monkey wrench. I'm going to be oppressive and go to Michelle Montgomery just because I love her and it's so good to see her. Toss her on, babies. Michelle, so good. I hope things are going great up in the Northwest. We really all wanted to be there this season. I'm glad they're going to aim for next year.
Kanahipi, everyone. I've been on YouTube for a while. I was trying to figure out the back and forth of the feed because I think I'm a bit delayed here as well. And so it's been a great conversation. It's been an honor to be a part of this journey. I just remember the last RV I attended with Uncle Bob. The gift he gave me was to bring our hearts together, to beat as one. And so this is a very important work to me. And I just want to ask everyone to just, really reflect on this time as an opportunity as rebirth. What does stillness mean to you? And as my uncle reminded me yesterday, what kind of relative do you want to be remembered as? And I think when we think of all the relationships and someone has, Kalani, you tied in very carefully the articulation of the water and the land, how they're all interconnected. And we're all relatives. We're all, in this world together. So I would love to hear more conversations about coming together as one versus isolated ways in which we can navigate spaces. I know we have different place-based community issues, but this is a great time to even, reconsider, what knowledge systems are we going to continue to move forward? Because some of the current knowledge systems that we've put up on a pedestal are not working hands down. Pila to everyone.
Perfectly spoken, perfectly spoken. Let's take this moment. Let's really accept the gift from the Earth Mother, from the Sky Father, from the Grandfather Sun, the Grandmother Moon. Right, the moment to stop and breathe, right, and evaluate our relationship with the woman that is the sea, all the water on the planet. In our people, we say she is both the great-grandmother and the ingenue, the young virgin princess. The water is all. It is all three faces of womanhood. The crone, the matron, and the maiden, right? And it moves through all. They have a saying, water may be the physical manifestation of spirit power, which is why it can hold life in its three forms. So the Holy Spirit, as the Catholics would say, come to the world in the form of water, which is why we find water at the center of the rituals. And mineral salts. The other 82% of you when we remove the 78% water. I want to remind you, when you look in the mirror, why is it you don't see water? Because that's what you are. The majority of what you are is water. Right? You're water walking. Inside water as air, drinking water as liquid. And if you're lucky, you got that Slurpee, so you got water as a solid too. But different markets, different customs. As is always our tradition, we want to leave you with a prayer till we see you 2 weeks from now. Watch those emails. Keep yourself safe and sane. Don't get crazy on the electronicals. You know what I mean? It's not worth it, people. We got each other. That's all that we need. So here's a prayer. Keep you safe. And credits. We're going to roll for your fine day. Mahalo ke akua. As above, so below. May it be on earth as it is in heaven. Please give us this day and forgive us. And please help us to forgive. And please, no temptation, no evil. Mahalo ke akua. May we be a blessing to each other. Mahalo ke akua. May you be a blessing to us all. Mahalo ia oi. We'll see you next time on Rising Voices 8.
Alarm bell rings, same thing every day. They'll answer the phone, I'm not home, I'm already on my way. Out the door, down the street, got to keep me on my feet. I got coffee, I got donuts, in the office down the street. And the fat hat lady's faking a heart attack. And my manager yelling at me, say, can't give her money back. Bank called, the notice overdue. And that's just one more thing I gotta do till I get off the earth. Till I get off the earth. 12 o'clock, the lunch bell rings. Same thing every day. You better answer the phone in the proper tone. Yes, sir, whatever you say. Right on time, on the time. Got to keep me on my feet. I got contracts, I got lawyers in the office down the street. Jam is backing up, holding out can stand. Things ain't working out the way I had them planned. Man, call the meeting, just a drink or two. That's just one more thing I gotta do till I get off the earth. Till I get off the earth. I get off the earth. I get off the earth. 6 o'clock, it's the happy hour. Sipping on no whiskey sour. Bartender asking about a refill, and I'm wondering who's paying the bill. The ladies be heeding the call. Sugar papers, one and all. My boss be dancing on the dance floor, so I'm heading out that door. And I'm making my move, I'm breaking out this bar. And I'm getting my groove on. I'm driving home in my car, and the blue light comes flashing into view. And it's just one more thing I gotta do